Welcome to Tag You're It. I'm Larry Anaya, along with Frank Iniguez and Brian Kozlowski. We're all with Tagrisk Insurance. We're coming to you from one of Southern California's finest restaurants, bars, or nightclubs. At each episode, we'll dive into the hottest hospitality topics of the day. So let's get started. We're here at the Future Factory in Los Angeles, and this is one of our customers, longtime customers, who happens to own Temple Nightclub in San Francisco and in Denver, and they're opening up their newest concept here in Los Angeles, which will be opening sometime, we expect, before fall this year, hopefully by spring, and it's an outstanding location. So being one of LA's newest nightclubs, Brian just got us the business over at Whiskey A Go-Go, which is a historic location. So Brian, what do you see as the difference between what this place is going to offer the community?
I think it's a big difference because, you got old school Whiskey Go-Go where it's just a stage and, you got all the old stuff going on. And here, it's, that's why it's called the Future Factory. You got a lot of lights and everything going on. Like I just saw renderings of this dance floor downstairs where everything's a screen, and they said you can watch football and everything on the ceiling and everywhere around. So it's pretty wild. It's a pretty neat situation going on here. I think they got something really, really cool going. So I think it should be pretty successful.
Yeah, and these guys have been outstanding customers. They're really taking this concept back to San Francisco, rebranding that location, as well as Denver had already been the foothold on that. Frank, as you look around here, what are your thoughts?
Exactly what the title of the business promotes, the Future Factory. You're in the future, the neon lights. So it reminded me of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Beautiful concept. Love the multi-conceptual draft of the place where you have an art gallery, you have the nightclub, and it's the future. It's the Future Factory. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting concept that they have the nightclub section that's going to be used for what you typically know as a lounge in a nightclub, although they also have a live music section, a kitchen, an art gallery, WeWork space, quote unquote, yoga studios. They really have so much going on, and you can purchase a membership to actually come in here for each of their events online. So it's really a great concept, and I'm looking forward to their opening up. I think it's going to be brilliant.
You know what, Larry, as we were walking the site and going through and through the tour that you gave us, the first thing that caught my attention was the fact that there are multiple types of businesses involved on the campus.
Yeah.
And speaking of the insurance world, how we cover those different angles of the business as far as the restaurant, the nightclub, and the complexities involved, especially on a multi-location site like this one. What are your thoughts on how to tackle something like that?
It's unique. We don't often run into this. Most of the locations we run into are just what they are, yeah. Right? And so in this, we have several concepts that you would think don't integrate so well, but they actually do here. And so what we do is we have a standard general liability policy for the entire footprint that's going to cover all the things that this is. And then on the property side of things, well, that's, fire, water damage, theft, etc. And honestly, that's very topical here in Los Angeles. Depending upon when this airs, we've just had some tragedy here in LA with the wildfires. And as we talk about, how to take care of a customer, it's just so important to make sure that we've got everything buttoned up so that on a customer's worst day, that they know that they're protected and taken care of. And so, we go through all the layers of that. When you go into a place like this, you really have to have a clear understanding of the business and all the operations that it has, so we can make sure that it's all buttoned up, that there aren't any issues when that comes about. So yeah, that is a great question, and this really challenged me to make sure that we were hitting each of the areas because it was unique, even including the art downstairs. This is real art. It's got to be covered as fine arts, because if there was a fire here, that's a problem. You're not just going to get a replacement of this painting, you're going to get the value of that.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to have the right value on the situation down here with all the art coverage and all that collectibles. And I think the greatest thing about this place is I think you can come in from any age. I don't think it's just a young crowd.
Absolutely.
Or, I think you come all the way up from any age you want to be, from 21 and up, and, enjoy the place, because there's a lot to see. It's not just going and dancing or whatever. So I think you can actually have a great time here eating, looking at the art. So I think it'll be be pretty successful with their got going here.
Absolutely. Now, back on that topic, Larry. So, were you able to cover all the multiple locations, the restaurant, under one master policy,
Yes.
or were there separate policies involved?
No, well, the separate policies would just be the line of coverage, but we have one policy for all locations. So the general liability policy is covering San Francisco primarily, then dropped in Denver when they opened up Denver, and then also now Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so we've had this covered as an open and operating business, but while still under their course of construction as they're building this thing out.
Right. Wow, great job.
Yeah.
And we know the nightclub environment is very complex.
Yeah.
And we get this a lot at the brokerage as far as how do we tackle this situation where you've got a nightclub that is under a tight budget, but they want those additional coverages that are vital for its survival. Talk about assault and battery or active shooter, for example.
Yep.
So I think it'd be a good idea you share with us how we at Tagrisk tackle those scenarios and how we help customers get covered under those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a full review of what the business is to make sure that we have a discussion of where you are coverage versus cost. Not every customer is the same. They're not built the same, but we all want to be protected in the best way possible. And so as we face these challenges of where the insurance industry is at the moment, we want to make sure that we have those discussions of how to mitigate some of this and make sure that we're getting them the coverage that they can afford.
Right.
Not everybody's in that position.
I think the best thing we always learned at the brokerage here from Larry is, we're not just, you don't want to just buy a piece of paper.
No.
You want it to have some force behind it when,
Right.
something, you always got to think of the worst day of your business, and you want some coverage so when something bad does happen, you got some backup and you're going to have, your indemnity to cover yourself.
I think it's a clear understanding of what's covered and what's not covered, and that's what we'll do. We'll make sure that we talk with our customers about the reality of what happens in these situations, or have the conversation about what are you concerned with?
Right.
What happens on your worst day? One of the things that struck me as we were dealing with these LA fires is most businesses don't really think about their business income, and that's part of your fire coverage. Meaning that if you're closed and you cannot operate, you have no income.
Right.
And so this is your business's life support, and having the wrong number could potentially cause failure in your business.
Yep.
And we want to make sure that we have that conversation so you are clear on what you're getting at the end of that day.
Absolutely.
And look, the truth is it's not happening to everybody, but it does happen. And that's why we're in this business, to make sure that our customers have clarity.
No doubt. I find a lot in the marketplace there. A lot of customers believe that everything is set in stone when speaking insurance. So
It's
they
all
don't.
the same.
It's all the same. It's all cookie cutter. Oh, so it's just like a package, and that they don't understand that, as we do at the brokerage, we can tailor make your coverages. So if you want less assault and battery, if you want more assault and battery, depending on your budget, and having that flexibility and understanding those coverage, so we can recommend the appropriate amounts according to their budget, it's a game changer for some of these people, because
Surely.
a lot of them have been told it's set in stone. You've got X amount of assault and battery, and it can't be adjusted or up or down, etc. So I think that's a really strong point.
Yeah, some of what we're talking about here today, and maybe we're deep in the insurance side of things, but nevertheless, it's so important to talk about. What makes us different is we specialize in the hospitality industry. All we do is restaurants, bars, nightclubs. We can handle other commercial businesses, but 99.9% of our portfolio is something that's serving drinks, serving food, or the like. And so we truly understand this industry, and we're able to, I want to call it manipulate, but we can find ways to work the proper things in or remove the things that don't matter as much, because you're trying. We just spoke of one of my customers who we just saved $190,000 off the policy that he was on. It was a 1-year policy. I saved him $190,000 because we had a discussion about what the coverage really was and wasn't.
Right.
It was a stock purchase of a business here in West Hollywood, and he assumed the policy, and after my review, I pointed out to him that he only has as much coverage as his security firm, his third-party security firm. And Brian and I already know, we insure another place up the street that same security company has very little coverage. And so the reality is where you think you're pushing off that exposure, now you still own it because the lawsuit's coming to you, your corporation, your business.
Absolutely.
And so as long as we have clarity on what that is and what that isn't, then we go and save you $190,000.
Yeah. Yep. There's one more coverage, Larry,
Sure.
that I've been asked so much out in the marketplace is active shooter. And the options that are available, especially in the nightclub environment.
Right.
And unfortunately, in some of these situations where you have hate crimes going on in some nightclubs.
Great point.
And how vital that coverage can be to the survival of a business.
Well, certainly. So we'll look at this on two levels, right? Standard assault and battery is going to cover you if you have proper coverage. And especially if you don't have the exclusions for firearms or even weapons in general. You know, a weapon could be, you know, anything, a pint glass, a salt shaker, anything thrown, mace, this microphone, right? I go beat Brian over the head with it. That's a weapon, right? And so bottom line is that a lot of policies exclude these things. It means you have zero coverage. And so what Frank's mentioning, this policy came about from the tragic incidences that happened in Orlando, Florida, in Las Vegas.
Right.
And it was built out for what they called an active shooter policy. The name has changed a little bit, but basically it's looked at to cover a multitude of different things in an event. And so the problem with some of those policies are they have caps per person. Where it has a luxury that it can handle a lot of different people, it has a cap per person, so it's not equivalent to having the actual coverage on your primary policy.
Right.
If we have that buttoned up right, like I do in the case for this customer, then you don't have to worry about that. That's an extended coverage, as we did with one of Brian's customers,
Right.
where it's going to protect your business income as well, which is unusual. If you have a shooting, most policies are not going to cover your income if you're closed for an extended period of time. That policy will.
Right.
It not only will do that, but it'll cover a number of other things that restore your business name and help you. So it's wise to have it in the cases that make good sense, or if your policy is limited and you have no coverage for weapons or firearms.
Right.
Then it's a bonus, of course.
Right.
There are more complete ways, as I've already stated, to actually solve the problem.
Right.
And I think it's a great option for a place like this too, especially because you're going to have some revenues coming in, and the policies really aren't that expensive, and they got
True.
some great coverages behind them. And you know, we've sold plenty of them to different clubs, and I think it's a great option for them to actually get some extra coverage where a lot of that stuff's left off their main policy.
Yeah.
So it's a good.
It's a
good way
value
to go.
add for
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Speaking on that, do you guys, does anything come to mind, any customers, any stories that we can share with our viewers as far as incidents that we were able to cover them on and they had an incident and we're in a good place because of that? Either a nightclub,
I've got
a
plenty. Some
restaurant?
strike you, Brian?
Not on any of my venues right now, but I'm sure you have.
You've
some.
been lucky. So
yeah,
we go way back. You know, Tagrisk has our lineage comes from Wright Insurance Marketing and Futures Insurance Marketing, and of those companies, that business was in business since 1985. So we've insured places like, you know, the Viper Room and others, you know, that are historic Hollywood venues. And you know, we all know some of the tragedy that happened at the Viper Room. I've had customers, Brian, you had a customer out in Riverside that had a shooting,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's not unheard of. These things do happen. Violence occurs in businesses. Truth is, even in our standard restaurants, whether it's a simple slip and fall or, you know, any of that kind of stuff, these are big deals when they do occur.
Yep.
You know, most customers think it's not going to happen. I'll give you one right now, actually. I think I might have talked about it on one of our deals, but I have a customer who had, he's 3 stories, and his security team were notified that there was a male in the women's restroom. And when they went up there to go get that guy out of there, he wouldn't leave. He seemed a little off. And so, obviously, right? And so, escorting him out and trying to take him outside, they got caught not being able to bring him in the elevator just yet. And so he wandered off towards the staircase and stumbled. And he fell down the first row as they tried to grab him. So they went down to try to help him again. He fell down the next row. And now the lawsuit was for brain damage. And so here's $1 million policy limit because of what occurred. Now, our carrier did take care of him. And we've got other stories where our carrier would fight a case. Brian insuring Hooters, we had a slip and fall as well by somebody with brittle bone disease and sued for $33 million, right? It was
That's
a big
when it
number,
started.
A big number, and they won that case,
Right.
Because the customer had done the right things. They followed a lot of the protocol that we put in place to make sure that they could survive. Camera footage is so helpful in being able to prove or disprove what you've done right.
Right.
And then all the other things that come part is the recommendations from our team and from our allies, that do these inspections. So they're all sound things to make sure that you're able to keep your pricing low and take care of all these claims that happen.
Absolutely.
So I threw out a few to you.
No.
No, it was
Thanks for sharing.
well explained.
I think our listeners would appreciate that. Now, speaking on that subject as well, you mentioned how we at Tagrisk specialize in identifying those gaps in coverages and those weaknesses, just like you did with Mickey's, I believe, right?
Yep.
And how important it is for customers to open up and have the faith and confidence to allow us to review their policies at no charge, doesn't cost them anything, but that gives us the opportunity as consultants to exactly do that, identify those gaps, those weaknesses, so we can mend those and make them, get them into a stronger place.
Well, point those things out. We've already talked about how a lot of consumers believe it's cookie cutter, that it's all the same. My agent and you, there's no difference. But the truth is that, I just bragged about saving this one $190,000. Brian and I worked on Hooters. We saved them $250,000. All Dubliner $141,000. Blaze Pizza $85,000. This is not an unusual thing. And our review of the policy is only going to enable us to tell you the truth on what's on there.
Right.
I think a lot of people want to believe that if I know the price, I'm going to save them $5, and that I'm not going to try to do my best, that I have an ability to move the needle, which is not true. We're going to various insurance carriers that have rates that are filed with the Department of Insurance. And the truth is that we have access to markets that most general practitioners do not. Because we specialize, we are constantly pursued by the companies that intend to be in our industry. And stuff like this, and getting this podcast together is going to bring more to our fold, so that way we can make sure that we've got the best in place for our customers.
And I think Frank brought it up best. I think when we get a chance to review these policies, it's usually beneficial. It's for these customers that really let us do this, because we actually find not only things missing in the coverages, but we actually, we see the deductibles. We end up actually bettering their coverage, better deductibles and everything, so they're getting and saving them money. So it's not only just getting better coverage, but saving them money. So it's I think it's a great opportunity for customers to just to open up their.
And I think that's really what sets us apart from other brokerages out there. I've spoken to other agents, many clients, and they share with me the fact that their broker doesn't sit down with them on a periodic basis to go over policies, to go over renewals, to go over coverages and explain things, where we at Tagrisk have that as a standard practice.
Yep.
So speaking on that subject, Larry, where do you think Tagrisk is at currently in the industry as far as ranking, are there any other brokerages that you can identify that have that specialization that folks that we have? Because I haven't spotted them. So.
Yeah, not as much as it used to be. There were quite a few of us, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that were still independent brokerages that specialized, but they've been gobbled up by the big houses. Some of the big players out there wanted them as their new thing, and they've absorbed them in there. And having said that, then I don't find I'm competing with the people I was competing with before.
Right.
And you did point out, like on renewal, we're going to make sure that we're remarketing you and finding you the best available. Have a conversation about what it is that's important and how we're going to fulfill that. I think those are some of the highlights of what we do from one time to another. Even recently, like we're finding out that building costs, as they're increasing, that we also have to take care of the property levels of our customers to make sure that they're going to get the value of what they put in. Like a place like this, it's all brand new. Everything's being built. We have a skeleton, and then everything else is being added to this. So the conversation that I have with them is about, well, what do you expect if a plane crashed on this in the middle of the night and everything's gone and now we have to restore it? Like, what's the number that we have to, and we'll find that space of where their comfort is.
Right.
Do you want it all in 100%? Are you willing to absorb some of that risk? Where are we at with that?
Yeah.
And so that's something that we gift our customers all the time.
No doubt.
I think the best thing we do too, every year we treat our customers as a new customer. We're always reviewing their policies and going through all the coverages they have. And it actually ends up setting them up a lot better, because usually every year there's some new carriers out there, and so we always get some different markets going, and I think it really helps the customer out a lot. Not only saving money, but even bettering their coverage again. So it's just something we do at Tagrisk. I don't know if all brokerages do it, but we always treat our customers as, priorities.
Yeah, certainly sets us apart. Think about a place like this. It's going to be so much fun to be here. I mean, and this is what we're going to continue to do in these podcasts, is bring people into some of the coolest spots. So some of the future ones we're looking at is Mr. Tempo, perhaps, and a tequila tasting.
Yep.
We're looking at some of the other venues that we have out here, whether, a nightclub or Whiskey A Go-Go we were talking about, perhaps, getting in there so we can share with those of you watching and listening some of these great places that are out there, because, coming up soon, we're going to be at the Bar and Restaurant Expo in Las Vegas. We've got a booth there. We're going to have a cabana. We hope to meet anybody who's listening to this and has an interest on bettering their situation and finding themselves a better circumstance on their insurance. And I will throw one more. I just had a recent success story. Somebody reached out. They were with a farmer's agent, and it looks like I'm going to save them about 50%. Which is not unusual versus some of these captive carriers, where you think, hey, I see them on TV, they got to be the best thing going.
Right.
It's not the case. That most of these companies actually cost you more money, and you just get comfortable with just rotating and staying in. Whereas, we are the field. You've got one horse, fine. We've got the rest of them. Let us run. Let us see what we can find for you. And in most cases, I don't know, we haven't really earned anybody's business that we haven't put in a better situation.
Exactly.
And so it's really that. It's cost and coverage and finding the best place possible. So I've really enjoyed doing this for so many years.
Absolutely. Speaking on captive agents, on how they're highly influenced by catastrophes, say if we're living right now in LA in the wildfires.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. And we hear it all the time. They're going to leave the state of California. They're no longer insuring. A lot of clients are getting non-renewals.
Right.
And because of those large hits, it's basically comes down to that. And that's when we come in as the solution to, okay, well, number one, the good thing, you're no longer going to be with a captive carrier. So now you're going to be marketed properly to the marketplace, to a whole slew of different carriers, and the one that provides us with the most strongest price and coverage, that's the one we roll out to you as an offer. So I think that helps out the marketplace, the clients themselves, because it just proves that a brokerage like ours has that added value and can cover those gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just continues year over year.
Yes.
We've already brought up some of our historic customers. Maybe you're our next one. We are constantly saving people money, putting them in a better situation, and it's going to continue to happen year over year.
No doubt. As we're speaking, one of the things that's coming to my mind is, who said insurance isn't fun or sexy, right? I've heard that so much in our industry that I'm thinking, I'm having a blast. I don't know what segment you're in or what brokerage you're at, or what kind of clients you work with.
That brings up funny stories. Just when I started doing this, as some of the funnest times I've had out with Larry, because I was out training and stuff. We'd walk into a situation with a venue, and we'd be like, okay, so who handles the insurance? And all you'd see was the fingers going that way, and that tells you how much fun the insurance was for most people. But we try to make it fun and easy and get people to understand what we're trying to do for them. And if they just let us go to work for them, we can absolutely help them and get them in the right spot.
Yeah, Brian and I, the old school, going into businesses and talking with owners, and it's just really funny that we've been escorted out of a few places. And
how'd you get in
here and all of that, right?
Don't you have anything better to do? And,
not really, but funny enough, those are the businesses that are no longer in business, right? We find
true.
that if you weren't thinking about the best thing that you could do for your business. And I know every one of you customers out there, anybody listening to this, if you're a good business owner, you're looking at places to cut corners. You're looking at how to improve your business, how to put yourself in a better position. And most of the time, I get it. This is not what's thought of. This is not fun to do, like, in your opinion, but we're going to do all the groundwork. We'll do our own inspection. We'll review your policy. We'll make sure that we're improving on it and talk about the pertinent information. And then we'll go to work. And almost always we're finding somebody in a better position.
Absolutely.
If you're already there, we're going to tell you.
Absolutely.
Why would we waste our time or your time?
Absolutely.
We certainly want to make it all that.
Absolutely.
So What else do you guys want to chat about? Now, we got football coming up.
We do.
Brian, 15-year NFL veteran.
Yeah.
And we got the playoffs coming up. What are your thoughts? Who do you like?
I grew up in upstate New York, so I'm an old Rochester boy up there, so I was always a Bills fan. Actually, not always a Bills fan. I kind of came onto them later because I got to go to a couple games in high school and stuff and actually experience that, and I just kind of came and got involved, following them. And then when I got a chance to play, I started with the Giants and then the Falcons and the Redskins. I call them the Redskins. Hopefully they change that name back. I know they've been talking about it. So I'm hoping my Bills can knock off the Ravens this weekend. And, I know Larry's a big Rams fan. And Frank, I don't know. He might be soccer. He's not from.
I do soccer, but when it comes to football, I also go for Rams. So.
Oh, there you
Sorry,
go.
Brian.
Orale!
Yes. But, no, it should be a great weekend of football. I'm excited to watch it. And then you even have the college final on Monday night, which should be interesting, which is, if you look at how they've done it the last couple of years, you got a 7th and an 8th ranked team going. So it's not always what they got going into the top 4, so it should be good.
It's going to be a real fun weekend. We insure so many sports bars and businesses that are really big on sports. As a matter of fact, they told us here, there's a venue here in Los Angeles called Cosm. It's a giant screen. It's like being on the field. And as Brian was stating, they let us know here that they actually have it very similar inside the dance area where you're covered, you're immersed in all the video, audio. So really cool stuff and I think goes back to what Frank said, insurance isn't fun. We're very lucky. We get to go into these great venues,
Absolutely.
Places like this. We're going to continue to promote this and show everybody what's in front of us, and hope that you're all enjoying that just as much as we are.
Absolutely.
And we'll be having episodes where we talk about craft beer, different types of tequilas, different types of spirits, just because that is our world.
Right.
And Larry happens to be very versed in the IPA world, so good things to come along.
Loaf of bread in every bottle. Mm-hmm. So I'm hopeful of getting our host here on camera, but I'll be reaching out to him and seeing if we can lock that in. Today's episode being brought to us by this ownership group, we're very grateful to be in here.
Absolutely.
To have this opportunity to share this with the audience, that this is coming out. Los Angeles is a great place to be, man. It's a beautiful area with eclectic people and so much fun going on. And I just love the restoration. This location's here in the Garment District. For those of you that are familiar with the area, I welcome you to come check this out. They'll be having special events from time to time. You can find them on futurefactory.com. They have memberships for if you're traveling up north to San Francisco, or you're going out to Denver, or this location here. There's a lot of things that you can enjoy within that. And so we're closing up.
And actually, we'd like to say something, hopefully.
Please.
All the families in the Pacific Palisades here lost their family. I actually know a family that lost their houses. So our prayers are with all of you. And,
Absolutely.
Hopefully things will brighten up for you and see what happens.
So I want to thank everybody so much for watching Tag You're It. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like or subscribe us on all social media. And follow us right here on our YouTube channel for more episodes. If you want to learn more about what we do, visit our website anytime, tagrisk.com. But until next time, take care, stay inspired, have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Till the next.